Whoop. Okay, so this week... It's another hype chapter. Yes! Yes, yes, yes! We're all good! We're all set! Oh, Chopper, I know! It's exciting as hell. Okay, so, Oda is very generous to us from what this chapter means for the rest of the Wano arc, because normally we don't get hype chapters like this until the end of a story arc, because that's how Oda does it. That's like his formula. We have like a story arc like Totland. It's like 75 chapters, self-contained story, the Straw Hats running around Totland, and then after that arc is over, as sort of like a buffer before the next arc begins, we get like a few chapters, like usually just one or two, seeing what's going on in the rest of the world. This is where we get big bombshells, like here's a new bounty revealed, or here's what this warlord is up to, that kind of stuff. But then after that, we cut back to the new story arc, okay? But from what we see what's going on with Wano, because it's divided into different acts, probably 5 different acts from what we're going here with the Kabuki plays and all that stuff, at the end of each act, we're gonna get at least a little bit of a hype chapter. I was expecting it to be an entire chapter. It wasn't. Act 2 of Wano does start in this chapter, which I guess, honestly, the editors probably came up to Oda and probably said, you know, that's great, you want to divide it into different acts and everything, but you really got to keep this going. You know, which isn't a bad thing, I get it, but at least we got half. So half of this chapter is a hype, where we look at other, you know, areas of the world, see what's going on with some pirates that we haven't seen in a while. We get a bounty. Not gonna tell you who it is, but we get a bounty. And then the second half is cutting back to Wano for Act 2. We do not catch up with what's going on with Luffy, but we do see some other parts of the country of Wano and what's like developing. It's probably like the day or so after Luffy was so splendidly defeated by Kaido there. It's a very short chapter. It's only about 16 pages because we get a few double page spreads, and of course when you get a lot of double pages it seems like the chapter goes by quicker, but that does not diminish the hype at all. So, enough with the foreplay, am I right? Let's just get into it. Let's jump into the chapter! Is what I wish I could say, but I can't. I gotta cover some annoying news first. Okay, so, you know, like, a few months back when I got a strike on my channel from Shueisha, because I used the manga panels, and I was like, crap, and I got the strike removed, and I didn't get another one, which is good. Hopefully it stays that way. But, the last few days, I've been noticing and, seeing a lot of other channels were getting taken down or getting strikes because of this. Joy Boy is the most obvious one. You know, and he was messaging me last night. It's like he's trying to ask for advice, and I'm telling him as much stuff as I know how to, like all the stuff I've dealt with before. So I'm looking at this, and it really pisses me off because it's such a hype chapter, and we get so many cool panels. But guess we gotta play by the rules and not show manga panels this review. Right. Hey, look. It makes me mad, but you know what would make me more mad is if I went through this whole review and then uploaded it, and then within an hour it got taken down. That would make me even more mad. So I'm like, and I think you guys as well. So it's just like, you know what? Let's just play it. Just play it safe and do this, but still, I will use every ounce of my descriptive powers for this. Alright then, kids, so this will be One Piece, chapter 925 review, titled The Blank. Probably what the title is referring to, I would guess, is the expression you're all going to have after reading this chapter. Your eyes are going to go blank, roll back into your head, you're going to be shaking profusely. Ah, so epic! If symptoms persist for longer than 3 hours, you might want to consult a doctor. But also what it's probably referring to is just the blank period in between the acts, you know, sort of like an intermission. You know, granted, I've never been to a traditional Japanese kabuki play, although that sounds like something I'd be into. I don't really know how it works. Like an intermission, you go fill up your soda and get some more popcorn and some Smarties. I don't know, man. But, yeah, that's the chapter title. And the cover page, this is something interesting. The cover page is nothing more than just a a fan request, and in this case, it's Perona making sangria out of Mihawk's wine. You know, sangria, like you take wine and like fruit and mix it and you let it sit and you get sangria. And the funny thing is, though, even though the cover page isn't anything really all that important, Perona's in the cover page and she's also in the actual chapter. That's right, Perona's back. Mihawk's back too. That's a great, yeah, you had me instantly opening the chapter with that. That would be like 2 weeks ago, the chapter cover page was Shutenmaru, you know, chopping the wood for those bears. That'd be like if Shutenmaru was in the actual chapter. It's like, you know, it doesn't usually sync up like that. Although I'm assuming, you know, Oda gets these fan requests and he's like, all right, I'll draw the one with Perona in the same chapter as Perona. Seems to make sense. Okay, so we cut over to the first half of the Grand Line at the ruins of Muggy Kingdom. This is Mihawk's Island, where he's just still chilling out like a baller, you know, he's just, I wonder what Mihawk does in his spare time beside have sex with Perona, which is pretty much, hey, that is pretty much confirmed in this chapter, okay? I mean, not expressly. It's not like, you know, Perona goes rushing out of the castle like, by the way, I'm pregnant. I'm just saying, they're playing off each other like an old married couple here, and I know for a fact Oda's doing this on purpose, okay? Either just to mess with me, or he's trying to tell us a secret message here. Okay, so Perona is in the castle, she's reading a newspaper, and there's an article about Gecko Moria, and I'm like, yeah! So Moria is confirmed to be alive. I'm pretty sure we all could have arrived at that conclusion back at Marineford. Doflamingo basically had him dead to rights with the pacifistas. He said he was given orders from higher up to take out Moria. Whether this be because, take your pick. He's too weak of a warlord, so they wanted just to get rid of him. They wanted the powers of the Kage no Mi, so they had to kill him first to get it back and reincarnated. Whichever, however, most likely the Gorosei, or I guess possibly Im-sama now, wanted Moria dead. So Absalom was actually at Marineford at that exact same time, using his invisibility powers, taking pictures of the Summit War, because he became a freelance journalist named Absa after the Thriller Bark arc. Okay, so what happened was he rushed up to Moria, turned him invisible, and got him out of there. It was never really confirmed, though, if Moria survived, because later on, Doflamingo was talking to a higher up, a member of the world government, and he's like, yeah, he just disappeared out of nowhere. Doflamingo just chalked it up to the Kage no Mi, because it's already kind of a weird fruit. It has all these powers to, like, resurrect the dead. So Dofi just figured, oh, it made him invisible, too, and makes sense, I guess, right? So he mentions, though, to the world government agent, like, oh, the wounds I gave him, though, they were so, like, life-threatening. There's no way he could have survived. But then again, keep in mind, when they left Thriller Bark after the destruction, after what Luffy did and everything, and the island now is pretty much in ruins, they left Thriller Bark. They had Absalom and Hogback with them, with Moria. So if they had Hogback, then he would be able to patch up Moria no problem. So I was pretty certain he was still alive. But yes, it was confirmed. So Perona is reading this paper with talking about like Moria's zombie army, which, like, okay, back up for a second. I love that. You pick up, like, there's the new edition of the World Economic Journal, Zombie Attack in Progress, and be like, whoa, what? Zombie Attack? What is going, there are zombies? They exist? Now, probably most people knew about zombies existing because Moria was a warlord at some point, so the general public knew who he was and knew what he could do, and this is a world where magic fruits exist and everything, but imagine going to your local newsstand on your way to work or school one day, and you just see the headline reading, Zombie Invasion! You know, zombies tried to attack the Capitol last night, but were stopped by the President's Secret Service. Oh, okay, well, that was a crazy news story. I'm gonna read about this. So, she's, of course, more excited that Moria is confirmed to be alive, and she's like, I'm heading out, Mihawk, I'm gonna go, I need to go find him. The thing you have to keep in mind with Perona in relation to Moria, it wasn't just like Moria was Perona's boss on Thriller Bark, okay? It was left kind of ambiguous. We don't know a lot about Perona's past, but hey, considering that Oda's now focusing on her more, we might very well get that. She might return, we might have some more back and forth with Zoro and Perona, we might find out more about her past. But from what we know so far, from what Oda has revealed in SBS's, first off, we got a drawing of Perona when she was a little girl, so that was cool. Like, she still had Kumashi, or at least a model of Kumashi. I'm assuming Hogback came up later and saw her stuffed animal and was like, oh, fuss, fuss, fuss! I can make you a Franken Kumashi if you desire! And so Perona's like, okay, cool, let's do that, dog. And he's like, okay! And then he made the giant variant. So there was that, but also it was revealed in an SBS that Moria saved Perona when she was very young. I think when she was probably around 12, 13 years old. She was only 23 years old during the Thriller Bark arc before the time skip. She's 25 now. Oops, same age as me. Okay, Perona. Okay, maybe if you have anything going on. No, she's with Mihawk. She's with Mihawk. So that's the story. Oda's basically come out and says, yeah, she views Moria like her father figure, knowing this is One Piece we're talking about here. So knowing Oda, her backstory is filled with nothing but just depression and abandonment, and probably her parents maybe kicked her out on the streets, and then that's when Moria shows up and takes her in. And I mean, didn't mistreat her or anything. She had her own little wonder garden on Thriller Bark, and she was surrounded by an atmosphere that was, she's very goth, so she was really into that whole thing. So yeah, she basically finally sees an article. She can't just go wandering the ocean by herself with no leads, but this is the first lead she's got. She's got a newspaper article. Moria's right there. I know where he's at. He's still alive. Okay, Mihawk, I'm out of here. And it's this neat little back and forth between them where they're kind of arguing, you know, because she's like, why didn't you tell me he was alive? He's like, I don't really care. I didn't have any reason to. He's like, hey, I cook for you. And Mihawk's like, I cooked more. It's like, yeah, well, I helped you till the fields. It's like, well, I let you live here. It's just like this back and forth. Like, has this been the conversation for the last 2 years? Because Mihawk seems just as suave and chill as when he was like instructing Zoro. So is this like the daily routine where every day they wake up and Perona's like, come and eat your eggs? And he's like, I already ate. I already told you I was making breakfast yesterday. Ah, silly ghost girl. You know, this is just what he does every single day. And so he's chill with it. Mihawk mentions that it's like, oh, such a noisy woman. But when she's barging out of the castle, she gets on her top hat and everything, and she's barging out. Mihawk's like, make sure to be safe, have a safe journey. And then Perona's like, oh, don't act like you care now. I'm like, okay, they boned. They definitely boned. 2 years living on that island. All right, there was, I think, a brief moment when she went back to Sabaody to, you know, return Zoro to the Straw Hats, because you know Zoro wouldn't have made that trip by himself. He would have traveled halfway across the Grand Line only to make it back to his dojo, you know? He's like, how did that even happen? But, yeah, so she left for that, and then when she was coming back to the Muggy Kingdom, she stopped at Thriller Bark and picked up the carcass of Kumashi. Also, it's important to mention that we actually get a title. I don't think this was ever revealed during the Thriller Bark arc proper, but it mentioned that Perona used to be a member of the Thriller Bark Pirates. I don't think they were ever referred to as the Thriller Bark Pirates during their first introduction, Absalom and Moria and Hogback and everybody. They were called the Mysterious Four. That was like their group that they were part of, because they weren't really like a normal group of pirates, you know? Like most pirates, they get a ship, they sail around the world, stopping at islands, pillaging, stealing, fighting. That's what pirates do, and then move on to the next island. Moria's was a little bit more lazy, where he's like, I'm gonna just convert an entire island into a ship. Don't ask me how that works. Then I'm going to take it from the West Blue into the Grand Line. Seriously, don't ask me how that works. I still have no idea. Unless Hogback figured out some way to make it float. I don't know. But it's like, I'm just going to set it down and anchor it in the Florian Triangle and let the pirate ships come to me. And you could say that's kind of lazy on his part, and it is. But it worked. I mean, for 10 years, this operation worked, and he kept growing a zombie army, waiting until it got big enough so he'd think he could take on Kaido or the New World, and I don't know. Knowing Moria and the situation he was in for 10 years, he might have just been like, you know what, I have a good operation here, I don't even need to, like, it's something he told himself, like, every day, like, I think I have enough zombies now, I think I can take on Kaido. Maybe tomorrow. And then it just kept going. But after he was defeated by Luffy, and then everything at the Summit War, and then Doflamingo, and then after all of this, he probably has some fire burning under him now. Moria's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm getting a zombie army back together. I'm getting back on top. I'll show them to kick me out of the damn warlords. I'm awesome. I'm Gecko Moria. Kishi. So let's do this. So, yeah. Perona leaves the castle, Mihawk bids her safe travels, and as she's leaving, he also mentions, man, this is, if there was a time to leave and get that out there in the world, this would be the time to do it. Because from what was going on with Reverie, he continues reading the paper, he's like, from what's going on at Reverie right now, there's some major developments. That's good sangria. So I'm gonna miss her. So yeah, don't worry. I'm sure Perona will show back up at some point and there'll be a welcome home party. Or maybe Mihawk will go after her. Oh, that would be so adorable if at one point in the series, like let's say Perona reunites with Moria at some point and they get back together and then they're in danger at some point, then Mihawk shows up and shing, and then it's like, ghost woman, you're here as well. And Perona's like, she's dialing up the tsundere meter pretty high in this chapter. She's like, oh, it's not like I wanted to be saved by you or anything, sexy Dracula vampire swordsman with washboard abs. No, what is that? Nothing! So, okay, I gotta finish that Perona Mihawk fanfic I was talking about. That was a good one. Alright. So, if that was not hype for you enough, which that was pretty hype, we now cut over to Blackbeard's island in the New World. That's right, this chapter we get to see Blackbeard finally. We saw his Den Mushi during Dressrosa, we've seen him in silhouette plenty of times, but I think Oda finally realized, you know what, this is the time we show him off, right in between Wano. That's how you do it. Kaido is a dragon, yeah, that's pretty hype. We need to keep this train rolling along though. So, we cut over to a place called Beehive Island, which is also known as the Pirates Island, or the Pirates Utopia. So, okay, let's just, roll with that, I guess. The thing that you have to understand about Blackbeard is, out of all of the pirates in One Piece, he is the most piratey. He's the most, like, yarg, shiver me timbers, walking around, kind of dirty, because if you're gonna be, if you're a pirate sailing on a ship back in, like, the 16th century, you're not gonna be very clean, so he's kind of dirty. He's got alcohol in his sash, not just to glug, but also, I would figure, to sterilize in case you get cut or something. He's like, oh man, I got cut on a piece of rope. Alright, splash it on there. Carrying a bunch of flintlocks with him, so just... that's the kind of pirate he is. Not a lot of his crew look very attractive, although that has changed in this chapter. Blackbeard basically has a harem now. No, basically about it. Blackbeard has a harem now, so yeah. But before we get to him, we gotta cut over to Moria. So Moria docks at this Beehive Island, which is the Pirate Utopia. Have you ever played Uncharted 4? It's kind of like that. Okay, so Moria has docked on the island in seemingly a miniature version of Thriller Bark. It's not the exact same island, I guarantee you. That Moria, like, did he backtrack to the freaking first half of the Grand Line to pick up the ship and then sail it through Fishman Island and get a... Maybe he could have, but we saw Thriller Bark when Perona was looking for Kumishi. I guarantee you it's not the same ship, but it is a ship that looks very identical. It has the same border and the giant teeth, the gate, and it has like 3 masts. So remember, the whole reason it's called Thriller Bark is because a bark is a type of ship. Frankie actually gave us that little piece of information. I think it's a type of ship that has 3 different masts. And so this one still has the same basic design, but I'm sure it's just smaller. So he arrives there and he starts just shouting for Teach. I'm like, where is Teach? Bring him out! And he's sending out his zombie army and they're attacking all of Blackbeard's like little riffraff crew. And they're like, where's he at? So apparently, I guess Absalom or Absa arrived at this Beehive Island a few days prior. I'm assuming to get the hot news on what's going on with Blackbeard using his Sube, not his Sube no Mi, his Suke no Mi. Wait, is it, oh shit, is it the Sube or the Suke? I gotta look that up now. Okay, I just looked it up. It was Suke. The other one is, I believe, Alvida's fruit. It gets confusing. Alright, so Absalom apparently landed on the island a few days prior, used his Suke no Mi powers to kind of, skulk around, trying to get like, okay, what's going on with Blackbeard and the 10 Titanic captains? Alvaro Pizarro is here, and I guess he hasn't reported back in a while, so that's why Moria has arrived and just starts raising hell. Now, Moria... Okay, you're not the smartest cupcake in the bunch here. Okay, so you get your ass kicked by Kaido years ago. You get all your crew wiped out, right? And now you think it's a good idea to attack a Yonko's headquarters. Not really attack, but just like barge on the alley. Where is Absalom? That's probably not going to end well for you, Moria. Like, I know you have a zombie army, but I mean, unless you have like... Unless you had an entire team of special zombies that are all the same as like ores, or unless you had like, I think there was hundreds of zombies at Thriller Bark in its heyday. Unless you had all of those to back you up, even then it probably wouldn't be easy, but that would be at least contendable if you're going to take on a Yonko hideout. So I feel like this isn't going to end well. But no, Absalom actually shouts over from on top of one of the plateaus, like the balconies or whatever. He's like, "Oh, Captain, how you doing? Sorry I didn't report back." So Absalom walks out. He's got a hot babe on his arms, and she's kissing him, and he's like, "Oh, man, this place is a paradise. I'm sorry, I forgot to call. Everything worked out." So, yeah, I guess he wouldn't have been there to spy, because you figure even Moria wouldn't be so stupid as to land on, his island and be like, "Where is that secret spy that I sent here a few days ago?" Like that wouldn't make any sense. So I guess maybe he sent Absalom as a messenger, and maybe he arrived on the island like normal, but then after the introductions were made, then he maybe started to use his Suke Nomi to start, sneaking around at night, trying to find out, like, "Oh yes, I've come with an invitation for Gecko Moria. He wants to meet with you." And he's like, "Ah, say ha ha. All right, well, we'll give you a place to stay for the night." And then he uses invisibility powers and you kind of start skulking around, and then maybe something like that. Okay. So everything seems okay. Absalom is safe. Moria's here. I'm talking an alliance. How are you? Well, not exactly, because right as soon as Moria's like, "Oh, thank God, Absalom. They were hunting for rare devil fruits and all, and I know yours is one that's, kind of viewed very highly, the ability to turn invisible. I mean, a lot of people would want that. I mean, most people would probably just want that to appear in the woman's bath, but I know you don't do that kind of stuff." And Absalom's like, "Oh, yeah, sure I don't." But he's like, "Yeah, it's a good thing it's a good thing you're safe." Right as soon as he's, kind of dropping his guard, Moria gets slashed from the side, and all of the zombies that were around him, they just get dropped. They all get cut in half at once, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a zombie." And they all fall down, and, Moria turns around, and he just sees, and this is actually a panel I can show you, we see Shiryu of the Rain turning invisible. Alright, so Shiryu appears, or I guess rather doesn't appear because he's invisible, but he turns visible again so that Moria could see him, and he has the moment of disbelief where he's like, "That's Absalom's fruit!" And so Shiryu just kind of sheaves his sword, which is actually called Ryu. We found that out in the last Viva record. He has the sword Ryu. It just means thunderstorm, which makes sense. He's Shiryu of the Rain. Sword is thunderstorm. Sheaves his blade, and he's like, "Ah, yes, Moria. That devil fruit was quite useful indeed." So, yeah, Absalom's dead. He's dead, and they took his fruit, so that sucks. Now, that would be kind of a shitty thing, because I'm like, "Aw, man, I wanted to kind of see what was going to happen with Absalom. Being a freelance journalist, traveling the seas, I thought there was going to be something to this, and now he's dead?" But keep in mind, Moria, shadow powers, zombies, so as long as they have his body, and they do state later in this chapter they have his body, he can reanimate Absalom. It doesn't matter, and he'll still retain his memories, because remember with Ryuma was reanimated with Brook's shadow, and he had Brook's voice and his speech pattern and his, like, fencing style, but he still remembered he was Ryuma, the samurai from Wano. So if he takes a shadow and resurrects Absalom, Absalom would still remember who he was. So we could still see him at some point. It's kind of out of nowhere. It's like, Absalom's dead? Oh man, can't say I really cared about him that much, but man, I thought there was going to be a salute, like an ending to this whole like freelance journalist sub-arc or whatever. But no, but if Absalom is dead, then who was the person that was just talking to Moria? Well, we cut back on top of the balcony where we see Absalom with the hot girl, and he jumps off and does a flip, and 9 tails sprout from his back, and he lands, and boom! It is in fact not Absalom, but Katarina Devon, the Crescent Moon Hunter, the most dangerous woman, the 6th captain of the 10 Titanic captains, leader of the 6th fleet of the Blackbeard pirates. God, this woman has a lot of titles. But Katarina also does happen to have a devil fruit now. She did not have one at Marineford when they busted her out of level 6. And now she does, and it's the dog fruit mythical zone model 9-tail fox. Make your Naruto references now. Bring it on. Okay, yes, all right. But you always have to remember that the 9-tail fox, or the kitsune, it's a mythical creature from Japanese lore. It's not, just like something from Naruto, obviously. It's something before that. that. The basic idea of it is it's a transforming fox, it's a trickster, it can lure you places, you know, it can disguise itself as anybody, you know, that kind of shit. Foxes in general throughout, you know, lore and mythologies are usually, you know, trickster demons or something like, I will lure the human into the forest, well, he'll be lost forever in a maze of trees. What are you gonna do, right? I knew a friend in high school that actually wrote a book later on in college that was that whole premise about like a trickster fox demon thing. So that was pretty cool. It's a very popular trope. But yeah, Katarina appears and I have to say, she looks a lot better, you know, instead of wearing the prisoner outfit. I went back because she is wearing an extremely tight corset in this chapter. I know Oda usually does the hourglass figure, like, whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. But I went back and I'm like, did she have those proportions during Marineford? And I went back and I'm like, yeah, I mean, the striped jumpsuit really doesn't do much for the figure, but you could see it's there. You know, it's just her face is where we get to, like, the crooked witch nose and everything, right? And we actually find out later in the Viva Ricard data book, I covered this in a video I did last week, which is awesome that we're revealing this stuff now, is Katarina Devon's whole thing, one of the reasons why she's called the Crescent Moon Hunter, what she does is she goes around the world finding beautiful women, and then she, off with their heads, Queen of Hearts style. Yeah, and she has a room somewhere on her ship that is just a trophy room of nothing but the heads of beautiful women. Now, she doesn't take the head of every beautiful woman, because there are plenty beautiful, there's even women that, like, are cheering for her in the background, like, Lady Devon! You know, so, I'm assuming there's restrictions, because Blackbeard probably wanted to have a bitchin' harem, so he's just like, Devon, I'm gonna have a harem, I don't care who you take you just make sure it's not one of my girls, okay? Just keep it off of the crew and you're good. I don't care who else you do it to. But yeah, that's her backstory. She goes around and, yeah, lops off the heads of beautiful women. So we're probably going to see a confrontation between Nami and Robin and Devon at some point. Oh god, can you imagine if she ever ran into Hancock or Shirahoshi? Probably Hancock, if anything. But holy crap. Yeah, so, yeah, she's pretty cool, I guess. The, you know, Mythical Zone, I mean, we're getting a lot of these introduced lately. We got the dragon with Kaido. Now we have a fox fruit that can transform. I mean, you could take this any number of ways, what she could do with this. I mean, she could transform into someone that is an ally of the crew at some point and meet up with them and, you know, then attack from behind. I mean, you can already see the problems with an ability like this, right? And I'm sure it has fighting capabilities as well. She might be able to manipulate fire, like will-o-wisps in some way. I don't know. But it's certainly a very difficult fruit to just kind of like figure out everything you could do with like right away beyond just the transformation aspects. That's why I'm going to I can make so many videos based off this chapter, guys. Like, I can make a video about Moria, I can make a video about Perona and the Mihawk thing, I can make a video about Blackbeard, I can make a video about the Mythical Zone here, the mythical Nine-Tailed Fox zone. Oh, it's gonna be a busy week for me. But anyway, after Devon, a giant voice, just a booming voice, just announces from the island. You know, the island has like a giant like skull mountain at the middle of it that has like a bandana on it. It's all made out of rock though. And so this booming voice comes out of it, and it's Blackbeard's voice. And just his voice is enough to cause like a rumbling, an earthquake around the island. And this is of course not good, because this means that Blackbeard has now, I don't want to say mastered, but he has certainly better control over the Gura Gura Nomi that Whitebeard had. So now, using the power of the Gura Gura Nomi, just his voice alone, the vibrations from that are causing the rumblings around the island. Not intense, he doesn't want to destroy his own utopia, but just enough to kind of put the fear of God in everybody around him. You know, it's like, announcement from Blackbeard! You know, you can't really ignore him at that point, you know? And so Blackbeard basically goes on this ramble where he's like, you know, hey, do you like to party, Moria? Come here, join my crew! So Blackbeard is basically just kind of like, we got your number, bro. You know, we took out Absalom. I mean, you could have his body. Katarina even says, you know, we still have the body if you want it. And Moria would probably be like, I would like to have the body very much, yes. He was one of the only friends I have left in this world. I am very alone. I want him to be a zombie. Even the zombie, I would still take the friendship. So, yeah, but, you know, he figures, like, okay, I took out one of your crewmates, and you really have no backup. You have zombies with you, but Shiryu could take all of them down in, like, that, you know, Moria could turn around and all of his zombies would be dead already, you know, it's like that, it's that quick. So, if Moria accepts, then Blackbeard's like, awesome, we got the power of the Kage Kage no Mi and Shadow Boy at our disposal. You know, we can reanimate the dead now, that's pretty epic, glug, glug, glug. If you don't agree, then we just kill you. We just kill you and take your fruit anyway, you know, so it doesn't even matter. Moria even realizes he's kind of up shit creek without a paddle here. Not even a paddle, he's just paddling with his hand, not even with his hands. It's like you're up shit creek without a paddle and you're missing hands. And at that point, you gotta, like, dunk your head in the water and it's like he's screwed, right? So, yeah, we cut over to see Blackbeard hanging out in his little, you know, awesome pirate throne room, I guess, you know, whatever. And he's chilling out with a bunch of hot babes on his lap and everything, like, oh, Blackbeard-sama, how are you? Blackbeard's still talking to him. He's like, hey, Moria, did you read the paper this morning? You know, apparently during the 4th day of Reverie, the Revolutionary Army commanders attacked Ryukyu and Fujitora, Green Bull and Purple Tiger, respectively, at the Reverie. Now, we don't get to see this. I mean, Oda, you gotta show this at some point. I guess this is the downside of having, you know, everything like this going on at once. But we do see silhouettes. We see silhouettes of Sabo and Karasu and Lindbergh and Morley attacking Green Bull and Fujitora. And he also states, like, they were trying to fight him to get Kuma back. Now, this took place during the 4th day of Reverie. Okay, now I believe everything that we saw back during the Reverie arc, however brief it was, everybody arriving and the ending with that grand meeting, I think that was still the 1st day. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was still officially the 1st day of Reverie when everybody got there. It might have been the 2nd, but I think it was the 1st, when everybody arrives and they have the meeting, okay? So, yeah, we'll cut back to this at some point. Maybe at the end of Act 2, we'll cut back to Reverie and cut back in the past a little bit. Like, the narrator will be like, going back in time to the day 3 of Reverie. You know, murmurings are abound. You know, that kind of shit. But yeah, that happens, so I can make a video about that, too. But I think the biggest bombshell in this entire chapter, I mean, we're not even done yet. We still have a bunch more revelations. We haven't even gotten to Act 2 of Wano yet. But, another thing that we find out in this chapter is Blackbeard's bounty. Yeah, I know. So, I'm just gonna tell you what it is. It's, let me just make sure I get the number right here. Okay. Blackbeard's bounty, Marshall D. Teach, a Yonko. This is the first bounty from a Yonko that we were finding out about in this entire series. We never knew Whitebeards, we never knew Kaidos or Big Moms, you know, Shanks, we never knew his. Luffy was the closest we ever got because he was considered the 5th Emperor and he had a bounty of 1.5 billion, which, well, up to this point anyway, was the highest bounty in the series. It's okay, Luffy, you managed to be the king again for like 20 chapters or so. Blackbeard's bounty is 2,247,000,000. Yeah, that's about right. I'll be honest with you, it was a little lower than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I'm not mad. Don't take that as a... I know, Chopper, it's okay. Don't take that as an insult. Don't take that as, like, I expect... You know, it was okay. It's a very good number. And at least, if anything, that really ballparks a Yonko for us. And at least we got a frame of reference now, you know? Kind of makes me feel like back when Blackbeard was in Silhouette and he was, like, reading the paper about Luffy and his new bounty, Blackbeard was kind of, like, you know, chastising him, like, it's still too soon for you, kid. I'm like... 1.5 billion Luffy bounty, 2.247 bounty for Blackbeard, billion bounty. It's not that big of a difference, Blackbeard. It's only a difference of like 700 mil, which, yeah, is a big number, but we're dealing with billions at this point now. So I think you're whatever. Now, there's a few ways you can look at this. You can look at this from the one perspective where he is a new Yonko. He just became a Yonko in the last 2 years, so maybe that's why maybe his bounty is not as high as the other ones. Maybe Kaido's and Big Mom's and Shank's bounties are larger because they've been Yonko for longer periods of time, and they've enacted more, you know, acts of piracy all throughout the world. Or you could look at it from the opposite, where Blackbeard's might actually lie on the higher end of the spectrum because, yes, even though he is a relatively new Yonko, the threat he poses is immense because he has the Yami Yami no Mi and he has the Gura Gura no Mi. And somehow, still, people don't understand how this works in the One Piece world. He has some way of having more than one Devil Fruit power. And his entire crew is made up of all these level 6 prisoners. He did a amazing job at, like, you know, showcasing his debut, you know, at Marineford. Like, I got 2 Devil Fruits, I got all these level 6 prisoners, I have a giant amongst giants on my crew, and I wiped out Whitebeard. I would not be surprised if the second, like the day after Marineford, they made his bounty. Remember, his original bounty was 0 when he was a warlord. He didn't have a bounty at all. They made his bounty from 0 to 2 billion immediately. So you could look at it both ways, because even though he is a new Yonko, the threat he poses might actually be more so than Big Mom or Kaido. So keep that in mind. I'll make a video about that too. But yeah, okay, so we find out the bounty of him, and Blackbeard continues to go on, just kind of rambling over the loudspeaker to Moria. Moria, we don't find out if he says yes or no in this chapter, but I'm assuming if he's any kind of intelligence at all, he would say yes. Because if he say no, like I said, they would just kill him and take his fruit anyway. They would kill him, take his fruit, use his fruit to reanimate him, and then he would be Blackbeard's zombie slave. So yeah, I think Moria only has one option here, right? And if he does anything to piss him off, they would do it and it would cap him off anyway. So yeah. Blackbeard ends it by stating, like, oh, you know, Kaido and Wano, and then we have the reverie and everything going on right now. The beginnings of the throne wars have begun! You know, and he's just having an awesome time chilling out in his pirate throne room with all the girls and the booze and the ale he could ask for. And so, Blackbeard is, he's a baller in this new age. He's enjoying himself, 100%. He is what a pirate, I guess, should be in the historical sense, you know, anyway. So now, the other half of the chapter, I mean, a little bit over halfway, we cut back over to Wano. So now we have Wano, Act 2. We get the curtain again, we get the lady with the no mask, and, you know, the guitar, or the Japanese instrument. It starts with an S, I forget what it's called. It's like, shing, ha, Act 2. So we cut over, the curtain expands, and we cut over to an area in Curry. An area we have not seen yet. It is Mount Atamayama, also known as Head Mountain. It's basically just a mountain that has, like, no trees, and it's, like, perfectly spherical. It honestly reminds me of something out of, like, Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario World or whatever. So it's just a bunch of trees, and then this mountain coming out of nowhere, and then on top of the mountain is a single tree. So it kind of resembles the head of a samurai with the top knot. That's basically what the design is. And we cut into a sword fight between, who do you ask? Shutenmaru versus Inuarashi. Okay, I'm okay with that, whatever. It's like if you walk into an event and you don't even know what's going on tonight, like, oh, I wonder what's going on with this event. Shutenmaru versus Inuarashi. I'm like, all right, those are 2 characters I never thought were going to fight, but I like both of them. Let's sit down, let's see what happens. Morbidly obese samurai versus a talking dog. Who's missing a leg, mind you. But anyway, yeah. Inuarashi, we of course know him and Nekomamushi are incredibly powerful. They were able to hold back Jack for days on end while switching with each other. Even when missing limbs, you know, Inuyashi's missing a leg, Nekomamushi's missing an arm, they're still incredibly powerful. He fights with a sword. So they're clashing on this Head Mountain place, while the other mountain bandits on Shutenmaru's side, they're kind of staring on, and off on Inuarashi's side, we see Carrot and everybody staring on as well. The Musketeers are there, and they're just kind of witnessing. Kinemon is there as well, Kiku's there, and they're witnessing this brawl. So what I can understand happened here is we're cutting probably till the next day, after the events of what happened in the, you know, because everything that occurred, you know, Luffy arriving at Wano, all the stuff with Otama and Okabore Town and Bakura Town, all that stuff happened in one day. Kaido is a dragon, all one day. So maybe we're cutting to the next day now, or maybe later in that same day, where Kinemon has found Ashura Doji, who is now going by Shutenmaru. They chased him down, and they met And Shutenmaru is, of course, already acquainted with Kinemon and Okiku and everybody because he used to work under Odin, or at least he used to respect Odin. And so I'm assuming what happened here was like, I'm not gonna listen to you. Odin is dead. You know, and he starts to leave, and then Inarashi steps up, and he's like, hey, you can't leave. We need your help on this. And he's like, you telling me what to do? And then they start having a brawl there, and they're clashing, you know, and everyone's just kind of staring on. But we do cut back over to Amagasa Village very, very briefly, where we see Otama, who is thankfully okay. She is recovering in her futon. Everything seems good. You see the Tengu there, bowing to everybody. You saw Chopper and the goat doctor from Zoe. Remember that dude? I think his name's Miyagi. Milky is there, who is the object of Chopper's affections. So, hey, we're getting a lot of relationships in this chapter. We got Perona and Mihawk. We got Blackbeard and his harem. Why can't Chopper get some? Chopper and Milky, get it on by the end of this story arc, or I'm dropping One Piece soda. But yeah, they're all helping Otama get better, and she's like, okay, she should be okay. Her injuries weren't life-threatening. Otama is, of course, very worried about Luffy. Chopper's like, you know what? Don't even worry. I mean, yeah, he got the crap beaten out of him and thrown in jail, but he has monstrous recovery and stamina and a will that you cannot match, so don't worry, he'll be fine. And, it was also stated at the same time that Raizo is actually going to go try to break Luffy out of jail. So it's like, alright, we got a ninja helping us. It's like, if anybody's going to be able to break Luffy out of jail, it's going to be a ninja. I think we're set, you know? So Raizo's heading out. We don't see him in this chapter, but hey, I would imagine if Raizo is going to, you know, jailbreak Luffy, they would probably also bring Kid as well, and whoever was in that other cell. And they would, maybe, you know, Raizo would break in, move a stone out of the way or something, nin, you know, and it's like, come on, Luffy, let's go. And the Kid would be like, take me with you, Straw. And he's like, okay, fine, let's go. And then whoever was in the other cell as well. So, I mean, the jailbreak might not be that epic. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Because for one thing, we already kind of did that with Impel Down. We might not have, like, you know, a few chapters with Luffy in the jail. It might be as something simple as just one chapter. Hey, I'm here. Let's go. Okay, let's go. And then that's it. That's everything. Okay, but Otama is alright, she's good. She also mentions that before she lost consciousness, she remembered Speed fighting, you know, to her last breath. So, those Dongo are really impressive, let me tell you, because they're enough to turn... Because Speed was Kaido's subordinate, and then with one bite of those Dongos, Speed fought to her last breath until she could fight no more against her former master, Kaido. That is pretty damn powerful stuff right there. So, yeah, her Dongo are definitely going to come into play later on, and they might also come into play if somebody might want to capture her again and use them for no good, you know, take her fruit power. So can we get a bodyguard around Otama 24/7 now? We need to get some bodyguards for that girl. Okay, so now we cut back over to Head Mountain, where the duel between Inarashi and Shutenmaru has ended. Shutenmaru basically just kind of, you know, he sheaths his sword, he's like, you know, and he's like heading back with his bandits, and he's like, ah, whatever, screw all of you. You guys should be lucky I don't rob you blind. I'm out of here. So they begin to walk away, and Kinemon steps up and he's like, I thought wrong about you, Doji. I thought you were going to fight with us. And Shutenmaru has a moment where he's kind of pissy. Not pissy like, you know, he's throwing a tantrum, but you have to understand, it's been 20 years since Kinemon. Like, from their perspective, it was instantaneous, but from Shutenmaru's perspective, he had to deal with this shit, Kaido ruling, for 20 years. Okay, so Shutenmaru kind of turns around and he's like, you don't have a freaking place to talk. I respected Odin, and I fought alongside him. That doesn't mean I'm gonna freaking do all of his damn chores. I didn't sign up to be like a retainer like you are, Kinemon. And besides, you guys abandoned this country for 20 freaking years. We had to deal with Kaido's rule and that bastard Orochi, alright? So I don't want to hear it. I'm not fighting with you guys, alright? I'm not your freaking stool pit. I'm not just gonna listen to whatever you tell me to do. And then he just turns around and he starts walking away. Now, you gotta understand that from his perspective. You know, he was originally an outlaw, and then Odin kind of changed his perspective on all this, and then he fought with Odin, and he respected the dude, and then Odin died, and then everybody in the Kozuki family disappeared or was killed, or they thought they were killed, and then Orochi and Kaido take over, and at that point he was like, You know, there are no more good samurai in this country. Just no good freaking thugs, basically. And he was okay for the most part. He was just holed up in the mountains of some remote location of Wano with his band of outlaws. And so he was getting by okay. But he had to watch his homeland slowly degrade, not just physically with all of the, you know, the deforestation and the pollution with the factories. He had to witness that. He also had to witness the degradation of, like, their culture. And if he's somebody that really respected, you know, the country of Wano and everything and what Odin built and all that's going away, it probably, I mean, he's a very hard kind of guy where he's just like, he's not going to openly weep or anything, but you can tell he's really upset by what happened. And, you know, now Kinemon shows up after everything's already been, all the damage has been done. He's like, what am I going to do? Maybe if you guys showed up a week after Kaido took over to launch a counterattack, maybe I would have been game. But you waited 20 damn years. And of course, it wasn't their fault. Lady Toki had the time powers and sent them that far in the future. They Kinemon, that's not their fault. But good luck trying to explain time travel to Shutenmaru, you know? It's just like, yeah. We also, by the way, get a little note here. We get an aside from Carrot. And Carrot mentions, kind of off to herself, she says, I should be the 11th Straw Hat. But no, no, she also says that, oh, my Sulong form in the anime was incredible. You should watch it right here. I'm so kawaii. No, I'm sorry. What does Carrot actually say? Come on. He was an even match for even Master Inurashi. So that's pretty cool, right? That is pretty cool. So, yeah, they're about the equal strength there, which means that about equal strength to a Calamity, to Jack. Because that was a good, you know, it was like Inurashi against Jack, they were equal. So Shutenmaru probably the same way. We saw Shutenmaru attack Jack earlier, so that was already kind of implied. So speaking of Jack, we cut over to Onigashima now, where we see, we actually see the detail of the island a little bit better. It's a skull with horns. We just see it a little bit, you know, detail. We cut into a room where we see all three Calamities, or all three of the All-Stars have gathered, and they are, the other two that we don't know about yet, they were chewing out Jack. So, okay, I'm an idiot. Like, I'll come out and say it, I'm a freaking moron. Because this thought did not even occur to me, and I'm slapping myself so hard. Like, see this? Slapping myself. I'm gonna stop now, that's starting to hurt. But, Kaido's crew is obviously based off of card games. I knew this already, because one of the members of Kaido's crew is named Gene Rummy, for God's sake. So I figured, okay, obviously based off of card games, right? So, there are three Calamities. One of them, the only one we knew so far, was Jack. Who are the other two? Most people came to the realization, I don't know, maybe King and Queen, because those are the face cards in poker. You know, Jack, Queen, King, and then an ace. Also a Joker, which ties back to Doflamingo, and Doflamingo had Pika and Treble and Law or Corazon. They had the different suits. So this all ties back together, and I'm just realizing it now. So that sucks. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't matter. So we see the other two Calamities. We see King the Conflagration, or also known as King the Fire, but come on, that was the way I read it in the first spoilers. It was King the Conflagration. I'm like, okay, that sounds way cooler than just King the Fire. That's what I'm calling him from now on. King the Conflagration. If you don't know what Conflagration is, look it up. Then we have Queen the Plague. And okay, we're all perverts here. We're all perverts. We're reading One Piece. All right. Do you want me to describe what Queen looks like to you guys? I can't show a picture, but I'll tell you what they look like. Okay, Queen is kind of large. Oh, okay, that's cool. You know, has a ponytail. Okay, all right, that's kind of nice. And, you know, very long hair. Okay. Really large boobs, like huge boobs, and they don't even wear a top. It's also a fat, middle-aged man, so yeah. Although, actually, to be fair though, I also read in the spoilers that they might in fact be, in fact an Okama, but I'm not sure which one is which, because going from what Morley from, you know, the Revolutionary Army, I want to say Queen, if they were going to be an Okama, that would be Queen, because that he is wearing lipstick, so he might be the cross-dresser, but then Queen also refers to King as a torture-loving pervert. So maybe they're both, I don't know. So basically, describe their layouts for you. King looks like a sex gimp. Not even kidding. And if you don't know what that is, look it up or go watch Pulp Fiction, either or. Yeah, so King is wearing nothing but like leather and black. He's got wings. Honestly looks like a guard from Impel Down, if we're being straight up. He even has the same skull lapels as Shiryu has on his jacket. So he has that design, but he's wearing like a leather spiked like gimp mask. Like that's the best way I can describe it. And he's like tight leather gloves. Everything's black on him, and he has a tuft of fire just emitting out of his back, just fire, just blazing. And he has a sword as well. Dollars to donuts, it's a Meito grade. And then Queen is a very large man, bald, except for like one ponytail running down the back of it, and wearing lipstick, glasses, smoking a cigar, and it seems like they're fidgeting with like a bunch of gears on a table. Might actually be fragments of Kid's arm, because Eustace Kid had that arm there, and they're talking about torturing the two, you know. So Jack is essentially getting chewed out. We find out that Jack is like the little brother in this relationship here, this paradigm. He refers to them as his older brothers, not in the literal sense, but as of respect, right? So King and Queen are like, you know, essentially they're Jack's superiors. And we saw all the shit Jack was capable of, okay? Jack the Drought, or according to Queen here, they call him Jack the Drag Down, or something like that. I'm like, oh, come on, Queen. Jack the Drowned would have been way better of an epithet. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? All right, so obviously the whole gist of the All-Stars or the Calamities is that they represent various natural disasters. And something else I got to admit is I was way off the mark on this. I thought the other Calamities were going to be the... well, actually, okay, I did throw out the wildfire as an option, but I was debunking on somebody being the flood, or, you know, something of that nature. I thought the flood or the tornado, some kind of wind power, I was expecting that. I was also expecting them to all have ancient zone abilities, because I thought the hierarchy would go like Kaido has a mythical zone, the All-Stars have ancient zones, the headliners all have devil fruits, like X-Drake is a headliner, he has an ancient zone, and then the rest of the crew have the artificial zones. But from what we see here with at least King, who is the conflagration, by the way, has fire coming out of his back, doesn't seem to be the power of an ancient zone. It would be either a myth... I mean, they're all... I'm going to assume they all have zones, because that's the whole thing with Kaido's crew. They all have zones. But it would make sense if Jack, who's like the little annoying brother, who's the weakest out of all of them, and yet still so freak show strong, he has the ancient zone, being able to turn into a mammoth, and, you know, he's Jack the Drought. That's what he does. He turns into a mammoth and then stomps the entire area flat. But it's not like his devil fruit actually, like, you know, drains all the moisture out of the ground or something like that. It's just he becomes a giant mammoth and then stomps it out. What it seems here with King, at least, probably with Queen as well, but with King, the fire epithet actually means literal fire. Like, he actually throws fire, breathes fire, summons fire, demons, something fire-related. So it's going to be a mythical zone, if anything. It could be the mythical zone. Well, no, it can't be the... What other animals do we know that have fire abilities? I kind of sworn griffins could do that. I know Phoenix, that's already Marco. I guess we could have some sort of fire demon. That could work, you know, and we could work with there. But, yeah, it's definitely a real fire thing he works with. Now, as for Queen's The Plague, I had flashbacks to Bleach just now with the Sternritters, you know, Queen, letter P, the Plague, or something like that. But no. The Plague, hey, that could be, honestly, I don't really know what kind of mythical zone you could have. There's some sort of a demon that brings, like, I don't know, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, you know, could summon, like, pestilence or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something here that could fit. Otherwise, I could see, like, maybe they don't have to have zones. I'm just assuming, because that's the whole motive of the crew. But, I mean, you know, he could have a paramecia that's like a disease fruit that can spread a gas or something that can make you, not the same thing as Caesar's, but some sort of disease-centered fruit. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. I'll have to do some more research into this. That's another video I gotta make. I gotta sit down and do research on various Japanese mythological creatures and find out which ones best fit King and Queen, and we'll work up from there. But, yeah, they're basically just chastising Jack, and they also are kind of bickering with each other. There's sort of like a disdain, sort of like a Sanji-Zoro relationship between King and Queen. Okay, where is Zoro at? He was in the lights last week. I don't... Zoro, why do you keep getting lost all the damn time? Chopper keeps falling down, Zoro keeps getting lost, my sword keeps falling. I think it's about time to end this. This has been a long video already, and there will be a lot of discussion videos to follow this. So I'm just going to kind of leave you on a light note. Blackbeard's bounty, first bounty we ever got for a Yonko. What do you think of that? What do you think about Moria joining up with Blackbeard's crew? Do you think Perona is eventually going to find Moria again? Maybe Perona will be part of Blackbeard's crew. What about Mihawk? Is he going to get... Because the way he said it, like, if there was ever a time to leave at this island, it would be now. Maybe after Perona leaves, he'll wait a few days and he'll be like, you know what? I think it's about time I set out, too. Because that's how the kind of guy Mihawk is. He does his own shit. You know, if he feels like going somewhere, he's going to do it. Nothing's going to stop him, you know? So Mihawk might be time to take the stage now. And Wano, Country of Swords, greatest swordsman in the world. That would be kind of cool, you know? This is probably not going to happen, but I just had a thought in my head, like, if Mihawk somehow arrived at Wano on time, it doesn't matter, because I might say, oh, that's going to take too long to get from Mihawk's Island all the way to the New World. He can't get there on time. It's Mihawk. Okay, he can cut a hole in reality and step through or something, you know, whatever. He has Kuwabara's sword from Yu Yu Hakusho. But no, if Mihawk somehow managed to get to Wano and he's like, you know what? I'll help you guys take on Kaido. It's not going to happen, but that would be so freaking hype, wouldn't it? Okay, alright. Along with that, we have the thing with Shutenmaru, who's Ashura Doji. If he's going to join up, he will eventually. It probably would just take... Maybe Otama should go talk to him. Maybe Otama should take, like, an apple up to Ashura Doji and be like, Mr. Doji, would you please fight with us so we can get our country back, please? And then she does, like, the little lip thing and gives him the apple, and Shutenmaru's not a complete heartless bastard. He'd be like, oh, God damn it, okay, I'll take your apple, alright, let's go kill the freaking Shogun or whatever. That would be kind of cute. Alright, so, yeah, many videos to follow. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the lack of images, but it's the best way to do it for now. We'll see where it goes from here. Thanks for watching, everyone. Tekking, singing out!